Welcome class back to Mr. Aliotti's PE flipped classroom. Today we're going to be talking about movement patterns. So first thing we're going to go over, what is a movement pattern? Okay. Second thing we'll go over what are some movement patterns we use in our everyday lives. And the last thing we're going to talk about is the professional implementation, what patterns that professional athletes use. Okay. Lastly, we're going to go over an assignment that I have for you that we're going to do in our next class in groups, okay? So let's move on. So what is a movement pattern? According to Family Time Fitness, movement patterns are patterns that allow the body to be coordinated in simple, basic movement patterns of lateral motion, so side to side, weight transfer, also side to side, can be front to back, forward motion, running, up and down motion, jumping, and coordinating upper and lower body movements. So when you think about someone like Serena Williams, for example, she's running, but at the same time she's swinging her arm with the racket in her hand and using her upper body and her lower body as one in order to get the task completed. So when we think about movement patterns, basically, like Sting said, or the police said, every step you take is every move you make. It's all a movement pattern. Okay? When we think about every move we make or every step we take, we're talking about efficiencies and inefficiencies, right? So we grew up knowing when we walk or when we run, our right leg, our right knee comes up when our left arm pumps. And when we pump our right arm, our left knee comes up. It's the opposite. It helps us stay balanced, helps us keep our weight in our center of gravity in the middle. There's a reason that it's not human nature to pump your right arm and your right leg at the same time, right? You'd be off balance. So movement patterns versus technique. So professional athletes also use movement patterns. They use specified patterns called techniques as well, right? So they use movement patterns like walking, running, jumping, just as we do. But they have specified patterns called techniques. So these are things like Steph Curry's shooting technique, Joe Montana's throwing technique, and even George Kittle's route running technique, right? These are movement patterns that have been worked on and perfected. Right? We also have techniques. We hold our pencil a certain way. We eat a certain way. We also have throwing techniques and shooting techniques of our own, right? And we can compare those to the professional athletes and kind of see and gauge how we're doing. So I have a video right now of Steph Curry. He's going to teach us what he does in shooting. And if you don't know anything about Steph Curry, in my opinion, he's the best shooter who ever lived. Fun fact, this gym that he's shooting in is where I used to work, and I've gotten to see Steph Curry work out multiple times. And I've seen him do this, I don't know, 10 times probably. So this is, where'd it go? This is going to be fun to watch. So find out, I think it's about 35 when he gets into shooting. Oh. All right, let's go.
To maximize the quickest release possible for you, lock in on the path that the ball takes from your catch-ready position to your final release point. So that's how...
Oh, where'd it go? Let's go back to that. All right, so you can see he's bending his knees here. He's getting lower center of gravity. He's getting lower to the ground. And he's getting lower so he can explode up and jump up and create more power.
You can shoot the same from...
So now he gets vertical, and you can see his elbow right here at 90 degrees and his wrist at 90 degrees also, roughly. Coming off the ground. And you're going to see perfect snap in his elbow and his wrist flicking down so he can get backspin on the ball. So that's his basic shooting technique. You can also see he's right-handed shooter and his right foot is in front of his left foot here. So he's saying load your hips and drive through your arches, the arches of your foot. So there's, as you can see, things as simple as shooting technique, it works all the way from head to toe, right? Like this is his whole shooting technique, and the only note he gives us is load your hips and drive through your arches about his legs, right? So we're talking about legs, our lower body and upper body working as one, all right? So the assignment for the next class, we're going to get in groups of 4. You're going to decide on a sport, professional athlete, and a technique, right? So you can decide on, let's not use Steph Curry since we all saw that, but you can decide on basketball, and you can decide Ray Allen and his shooting technique, or you can decide football, and Tom Brady in his throwing technique, right? So you're going to choose a sport, an athlete, and his technique. You're going to collaborate with each other on what this athlete does well or does not do well, because you can also go the opposite way if you want to dissect this. You can choose basketball, you can choose Shaq and his shooting technique, because Shaq is infamously known as a very bad outside shooter. So you can dissect it that way if you'd like. And then at the end of the class, we're going to present our findings as well as why this athlete uses efficient movement or inefficient movement and how he or she can improve their technique. All right? All right. Well, that's a good class. See you tomorrow. And again, this is Mr. Aliotti's Flipped Classroom. This is also LeBron James because he's my favorite basketball player. Have a good day.